Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I have story text to put in. Specifically, I'm getting to that point where I'm wanting to start to actually put the game together, right? We've got a lot of the mechanics in place, and we're starting to get to the point where story is kind of meaningful, just kind of sorta. So, as I move towards getting myself into that state where I'm going from making mechanics and just kind of completing the game so that it's fun and interesting, I'm going to start shifting slowly, you'll note, towards the content side of game development. And some of that is art, some of that is sound, and some of that is story. So as we kind of go through here, you'll note that more and more of my programming will be story related to some degree. And so today, we're actually going to go so far as to see if we can start adding in little twists and tweaks to the system so that we can put story text in pretty much wherever we please. Because one of the big strong points of this genre is the ability for the game to narrate and for the player to internalize that narration very quickly and easily. You don't require big cutscenes, you don't require character development in quite the same way that you do for other games. That's kind of part of why I chose a dungeon crawl in the first place. You make your own characters. The players are going to internalize and create their own character story to some degree. So, as we work on that, we do have to keep in mind that the story does have to work with a bunch of seemingly random characters, but at the same time, we can also take it somewhat easy in the knowledge that whatever work we put into creating a story, the players are going to help generate some of that themselves as well. So, the places I wanted to put story in. First off, when you walk to a node. Now, I think I may already have a script for that. And you'll notice that my assets folder is getting kind of messy. There's going to come a point soon where I'm going to actually go through and clean up a lot of this. Mostly because there's just so much going on. I'm not a huge fan of having each of the plugins that I use eating up its own folder. I'd rather have things kind of put together in their own way instead of taking up their own specialty folder. This doesn't look that great and doesn't work out terribly well for me. In fact, I'm going to go so far as to take this right now and just dunk it into the models, because that's exactly what it is. Okie doke. So, first off, have I already done this? Because that's a darn good question. I've worked on a lot of things at this point. I'm starting to get to that point where I forget what I've worked on. And so in order to make sure that I don't duplicate code that I've already written, I'm not seeing anything here. I see scripted fights, and that's fine. Yeah, okay, I don't see anything. Cool. So, we'll start with when you just simply walk to a node. So, new script will be a scripted description. Lovely script name, I'm sure, but we'll get past the fact that the naming is somewhat circular and just skip straight to the implementation. And for those who have been keeping up, I have been able to update the YouTube channel. Sorry I fell behind a little bit. It just took a little time to get a couple of the videos that were broken up into pieces coalesced together into one piece so that we could just host them all in the same place without worrying about it a ton. Let's do this. Let's do an array of description text and put some wait time in here. And I'm pretty sure that's all I need to do. Well, no, that's all I need to do for the information storage aspect of this. We need the actual logic to live in here too. So we are going to use an onNavigation call, which, as we should know, gets called by anything on the grid that is being navigated to. So when you navigate to something, I want to be able to have just chunks of description text that show party instance input enabled is false. So we do our usual method of we turn stuff off, and then we proceed to actually not void, IEnumerator. There we go. I guess I'll call this process description. I really need to find that setting for Visual Studio. This is bothering the heck out of me. One of these days. Alright, so, let's see here. Yield return. You wait for seconds. And we're just going to do this for each description in the description text. It'll be pretty straightforward. We'll give the player, here's the text, here's the time to read it. Here's the text, here's the time to read it. And I need to do the usual Unity engine.ui add for whenever we use UI stuff, specifically this text element. It's funny how you can use things by reference until you need a copy of a variable, at which point the moment you need to declare it tends to be when you have to add in the using marker at the top. So description text.text going to be equal to the description. We wait for a while, we move on to the next one, and then when we're done, we clear the text, because we pretty much always want to set our description text back to how we found it when we started. So this one's kind of the easiest of them, and the only other thing I might want to do later is add sounds to this, so that I can have like a spooky howling wind come up, or have things happen at certain locations. One other thing I just thought of that I definitely want in here, whether it triggers once or not, should be pretty powerful. So this will say, if we only want to trigger once, then just destroy this. So it just removes the description from the set, and it keeps us from just repeatedly badgering the player with information that they technically should already know and have. Let's just go onto our grid, and already we have a scripted fight at a certain location. So I'm just going to remove this. My mouse is really not happy today. I don't know what's going on. There must be a hair inside the optical element, because, ugh. Lemony Fresh, did you just make my day? Oh my god, I think you did. Alright, Visual Studio formatting. Tools. Options. Text editor, C#. See, look at all these. There's so many settings in here. New lines, new lines, new lines. First off, line numbers is cool. I like line numbers. Also, formatting, new lines. Oh, hello. Place open brace on new line for no. And no. And no. And no. For anonymous types, no. Yeah, pretty much none of these are... Okay, else, catch, and finally, I do want on their own line. Those I want on new line. Those I want on their own line. Oh god. Yeah, and I definitely want those on their own line. Is that all of them? Did I get it? I think I got it. Yeah, pretty much just clear out all of them. I'm just not a huge fan of the amount of space that it takes up. And this is purely just like my opinion. You know, the place I work at, we use brackets on their own line. I think it sometimes can be good, sometimes can make text just so spread out that it's difficult to actually handle when you're trying to read through code. I like to have the code in line so I can literally read it like a book. I just say, okay, for each string, set the text, yield. Great. If I have to go for each string and then I have to, okay, there's an open here. Like, it's easier to track the open-close pairs, but it's also, I don't know, I like to be able to read code a little easier than that. So, let's get our description attached. So instead of a scripted fight, scripts. Scripted description. God, that name, I'm gonna have to either fix that or just get used to the fact that I say script and descript one after the other. 3. Here, howling wind. I may have to do some /n work here to add new lines, or figure out how to use the rich text to insert new lines, because I know there's a way to do it. This will probably just come out looking like this, but, whoops. But we'll test it out. And then we'll put a wait time of like 3 seconds on each of these, and we'll tell it to trigger once. Cool. And I need a way to click through to make it, yeah, okay, the /n definitely, whoa, that's way too fast. That is not 3 seconds. One 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. Okay, maybe it is 3 seconds and I just need to make that longer. Either way, the /n, can I do that? I know it's a rich text element, so there's a way to do this. Nope, okay. Unity rich text. Line break. I mean, it's either that or I can like shift enter inside this thing. Let's try that. No. Okay. Let's see here. Pull the documentation across. You can't manually type a return character into an expector, and /n doesn't work. You can copy and paste a return character, for example, from Notepad. Interesting. That's really unfortunate, because I would like to just type new line in all caps. Yeah, not something I'm a huge fan of. Although I guess that might work. The problem is I'd have to implement that in every single place. Is that really the best answer? Really? Do we not have a better way of doing this? I mean, it just, I don't know, it seems silly that we can't, I guess I should put inspector so that it understands that we're looking for something to do in the UI. I can turn that on? Oh. Hobbly gobbly you may have just added to today's awesomeness. Let's see, options, C#, new line spacing. Where is that? That's sitting in all languages, scroll bars. Well, I just use C#, so map. Well, shit. A little thin, especially on its widest setting, but I can appreciate it. Thanks, that's friggin' awesome. I know it used to be a pro-only thing, or you used to have to get plugins to do that, but it's nice to actually be able to poke at this from here. Nice. Okay. Back to hunting for a way to put a line break in. Yeah, it's looking like I'm either going to have to do this each and every time or make a helper function to do this for me because it just doesn't look like something you can do in the editor. Short of copying and pasting. Type Alt, Option, Return. Really? That's the Unity answer, is just manually insert? Okay. Alright, let's try it. Right here. No, right here. Okay. I didn't see anything happen. Nope. Still nothing. Still nothing. The thing I note is when I press Alt, it changes the tools up here. Which makes me think that it's not actually getting down here. That the input isn't making its way all the way down. Yeah, okay, we're just gonna do the break setup. And what we're gonna do to make this a little easier on us is we're just gonna use a GameUtil modification. Doom, doom, doom. And right now we're gonna make this pretty simple. Oh god, it's so nice not having to go back and change my my text like that. You guys are amazing, thank you. Let's see. If you have rich text enabled, it works. I do have rich text enabled. That's the weird thing. If we go and look at the party UI and look at the description text, rich text is enabled, so it's not like that's a bad thing. It just isn't doing the pre-processing when we set it. And that's kind of the part that's killing me. I'd really like for this to work. Because this should work on its own. I haven't sent it the function that I have every intention of handling. Do I have to like put spaces on each side of it? Like, it seems bizarre that I just can't. Let's see here. Description text. Vertical overflow. Yeah, the vertical overflow is set to overflow. We read from the top. All text is centered. I don't know what more to say. It feels like this should be working. This should be a multi-line, perfectly capable thing. There's only one text element. Yeah, no, this should be working. If I add the multi-line attribute to the inspector, will it format it correctly? I don't honestly know what you're talking about when you say add the multi-line attribute to the inspector. I don't have the I don't have these parts of the inspector anywhere in my code that I know of. how wide the text box is wide enough. I mean, it's a new line, so it should be shortening the longer line to 2 lines. That's not, as far as I know, the issue. It is garbage that I have to do. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that this isn't just like magically working. Because for Unity, magically working is kind of its thing. The fact that it doesn't quite magically work is annoying. Just because out of curiosity, yeah, okay, so new lines definitely work in here. Is that not part of rich text anymore? I thought that was. Here it is, rich text. Markup. We can do nested elements, we can do, okay, basic formatting and markup, that's fine. We can do bold, italics, size, and color. We can change texture. Okay, that's not gonna be helpful. I could have sworn that the new line there would be taken care of, but I guess not. Goes to show me what I get for thinking functionality exists. Kind of impressed. I could have sworn at some point that was a thing. Yeah, okay. Cool, well, I've learned something. That is not a valid way to do it. So we're just going to do this the old-fashioned way. Where is that? Let's see. Oh, crud. I closed down the party node I had, or the grid node. Cool. So we've got this for now. It's just going to be a one-line replace. We'll have to figure out if anything else wants to fit in there. We'll do that manually. Here's our description. When we set the description text, I'm just going to gameutil.format text. And we'll just put in the description. And that should do the trick. I don't want to spend too long on it. This is such a simple feature that it should not take up that much time. There we go. Adding multi-line to the description string. Okay. The question is, can you do that to a string array? Make a string be edited with the multi-line text field. Because that's a little more in depth. Oh, you can. Oh, that's sexy. Much better. Let's get this crap out of here. I am so happy that worked. The less code, the better. If we can get shit out of here, like, great. Thank you, Lemony Fresh, for adding that to my list of things I know. Now we can say anytime we want formatting, we slap the multi-line attribute onto the top of it. and then we just kind of go ham, which we're going to be using this a lot today. This is not just something that we're going to be using like once and then throwing away. Because we've got, so description text is the easiest, right? You walk to a place, we say the description text, and then if it's triggered once, we just throw it out and then it's gone. Done forever, don't care. Other stuff is going to require something not terribly much more difficult, but still difficult enough that we want to keep it in mind. For example, scripted frights. I can't even say words right now, apparently. Alright, so on navigation, when you get into a fight, we need to do a few things. First off, party instance dot input enabled is false. In very much the same way we started off a coroutine last time, we'll start off a coroutine this time. But this time, not only is our process description going to have information inside of it, when we end it, we're going to start the fight. Also, we're not going to enable the player input at the end, because player input just needs to be continually off so that they can't walk around during combat. It'd be a little silly if they could. So, we have monsters to spawn. We also have, let's see, oh, can't forget this. This is very important now. We've got our string array of pre-combat text. We'll call it the text wait time to be a little more specific in here, because there are a bunch of things that could be construed as wait timers. So for now, we're just going to go through, do the pre-combat text, and start the fight afterwards. Trigger once is not necessary, because we always destroy scripted fights when they're done. Now what we should do, and this is something that I need to think about a little bit before I just blindly implement right here. So we've got the pre-combat text, we've got the in-combat, so I'm actually going to put headers here to make this in-combat param. I'll just call it the combat parameters. And then we've got our pre-combat parameters. And somewhere along in here, we'll have to have some post-combat parameters too, because I'd like to have more combat text, right? I'd like to be able to have combat, and when combat ends, trigger more text. The hard part's going to be figuring out how to actually trigger the text. Something needs to happen here in terms of taking care of this combat window. Okay. Let's see, where's our combat window? Right now, this looks pretty straightforward. Oh no, that's character window. That's why it looks so straightforward. Combat window. This looks nice and complex. This is what I was hunting for. References. I actually don't know if events show up in here at all. Let's try something real quick. I have a function. No, I have an action. Oh. And action is a system thing. So I'm just going to system.action. I don't like including the system namespace because system has a random class inside of it, and Unity Engine has a random class inside of it. So if you include both, the two go head to head, and you end up fighting over who has control over certain classes, and it's just not pretty. So if you wonder why I'm using the namespace system instead of adding a using system statement to the top, that's why. And what we're going to do is when you have a... Actually, isn't there a way? Unity Engine dot... Yeah, Unity Engine has events, but I don't think they're the same kind of event. Let's look this up real quick, because this is not just me making a game. This is also us learning how certain things work. I want to know if there's a Unity specific event. Because if there is, great. I'll just use that instead of the other stuff. And it looks like there is. Now, Unity event is from the Unity event base, which is from Unity event engine.events. Okay, I can do that. Unity engine.events. And once again, the OCD of alphabetical order is going to kick in a little bit. You will notice that the system is after Unity. Don't know why. That's just like how I do things, I guess. Unity event, and it's going to be an event. We can pass arguments. Sweet. For now, I can only think of one argument I actually want to pass. And this will be our on combat complete event. And I kind of want to see what that looks like if it shows up in the editor or anything else, because that would be kind of sweet. I don't know how I would use it, but I just want to see if it exists. One of those exploratory things. Opponents, combat, action choices. Okay. So it should be after the combat info, and I'm not seeing it, which is fine. That's just fine. This should honestly probably live with references? Question mark? I'm not actually certain. And just so we have some code in front of us, just to see what we should do. Okay, it's the standard event syntax. If it equals null, then interesting. So it's a class, and we can just call add listener to it. All right, so I can do whoop. An instance of an abstract class or interface. Yeah, I thought so. It seems a little bizarre. Unity event. They call new on it, which is weird. So this shouldn't work. Technically, their code is not going to work. It's not often that Unity has broken documentation, but it also wouldn't be the first time I've run into broken documentation like this. So they subclass from it, which is completely unnecessary. Alright, well, if this doesn't want to actually be used, I think I'm just going to use a standard C# event. I mean, okay, so I understand what they're doing and how they're doing it. Yes, my code doesn't work and theirs does. This documentation is actually correct. Because they subclass off of Unity event, and Unity event is an abstract class, this allows them to instantiate it without adding anything else to it. The problem is this is a completely unnecessary class. The idea of Unity event, as far as I can tell, is that you're only supposed to be able to add more or less to it and not use it as a base for things. Which is kind of what I was hoping to do. Is it always like this in every case? Yes, it really is. Okay. Well, it looks like... Okay. Yeah, it looks like we're just going to use standard C# events. As much as I like using Unity-based things when I can, it doesn't look like this event is going to be something we can use the way we want to. Unfortunate, but how it goes. So, you, get out of here. You are a system.action who takes in a boolean, and this is going to be the on combat complete event. And all we're going to do is the end combat calls, which there's only one, so that should make this nice and easy. Before we call combat complete, Actually, after we tell the party combat's over, if this is not null, so if somebody's registered something to it, we need to do a few things. First, setting it to null is an easy way to clear all the events out of it. The other thing is we're actually going to call it, and success should be a pretty easy thing to judge at this point. Yeah, party dead is a boolean I've already got. If party dead is true, then you've lost the fight, game over. If party dead is false, obviously you've won the fight. On combat complete, if it's not null, do that. Cool. So now we just need to register to this. So here is our scripted fight. And before we do anything else, so we say start the combat, add the monsters to the fight. Oh, and by the way, when you're done, let's just call this. And let's not destroy ourselves till after. Let's see, how does this work? We want a... I guess I'll just call it on combat complete. Cool. Oh, it's so nice. I don't have to, like, mess with anything. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gushing over the fact that I just don't have to keep reformatting my code every time I press enter. This is going to save me so much time. I should have done this a long time ago. Sometimes my laziness just kicks in and really gets the better of me. And in this case, that's kind of what happened. You too are multi-line. Multi-pass. Alright. So, we've got our multi-line stuff. We are going to start a new coroutine that is going to process post-combat text. And this function doesn't actually exist yet, so let's get that plugged in. Let's see here. Party instance input enabled is false. Then true at the end, just to make sure they don't go anywhere while I'm trying to talk, pretty much. Yes, it does? Question mark? No. Process post combat text. That better? No, it's still complaining about something. Oh. I stole a bracket. My bad. I do that a lot. For each, I'm just gonna, I need this. Don't mind me. Dangerous to go alone. Steal this. In the post-combat text. Done. Sweet. So this should give us pre- and post-combat text. Alright, we are going to pull out this scripted description because its name is terrible, and because I don't need that, we're going to test something else. We're going to test a scripted fight. Whew. Okay, pre-combat text. We are going to have and we'll say 2-second wait time, because I can read quick. Forget the players, my reading speed is the only one that matters. Panda with the shotgun's right, got it right. Yeah, the party can't move while I talk, excuse me. I am the game master, I dictate when you can walk. I can have a bit of an ego sometimes. And let's just, oh no, it's a bat. Hey look, it's a bat. Post-combat Uh, creepiest text. IGN would give me a 10 out of 10 for that. Alright. Oh no, it's the bat. You're under attack. Cool. And then we kill it because it's a single bat, and it honestly shouldn't take that long. Ta-da! We killed it. And then we found some gold. We all got so little experience. It's not even terribly helpful. And there's been a null reference exception. What? Really? No. No. What? Okay, when did that happen? Because it looks like that happened when the fight ended. And suddenly, like, things just broke. Oh, did I not clear that? Oh, I did clear it. Wait a minute. Okay, clear. Oh, do I have one in the scene? Okay, let's get rid of that, because that's causing us trouble. Okay. There's our fight. We get in the fight. We punched some poor bat to death, pretty much. Come on, kill it, guys. Just a bat. There we go. Don't even feel bad. It doesn't. It's got a lot of gold on it. In fact, I don't even know how a bat is carrying 800 gold. This is either the most dramatic timing ever, or something's gone terribly wrong. Guys, you're not clearing the text. Okay, so something called destroy, but then failed to... Did I do this in the wrong order? Yes, I did. Okay, this should not get destroyed until we're done. Whoopsies. Something I've learned. Unity has a lot of crazy edge cases that do a few things that I don't like. And granted, some of this comes from a C++ point of view, so I can understand why C# doesn't do things that way. So one thing is that a coroutine comes to a screeching halt. Whoop! The moment the object it's attached to is destroyed. Alright. Dang it. No more notifications. Quit it. Alright, so we gained our experience. He's gone. For now. Clear, delete, I can walk again. Sweet. That is what I was hunting for. Ooh, hi tree. Oh, hello. Hey, I have a feeling this tree is not supposed to be here. Also, I need to thicken up this forest by a ton. The fact that you can see so far out into it is kind of... yeah. I'll figure that one out later. Cool. Ba-dum-bum-bum. So we've got, okay, we've got text when you walk somewhere. We've got text when you start a fight. We've got text when you end a fight. What else? I'm trying to think of other times I might want text. Using an item. Might want text then. What else? Is there anything else? At least not off the top of my head that I can come up with. Look at my design doc real quick. Make sure I didn't miss anything that I expected to yeah, I expected to have in there. Whoops. Not what I meant to click on. Yeah, I'm kind of drawing a blank on any other time when I might want it. And I had other things planned, but I don't really have a ton of time. So I'm going to jump to the content side of things and literally start in on my little tree issue. Number one, this tree can go away. Number two, how do I get more trees into here? Easily. Because I do have this lovely system plugged in, but the problem is it wants to put the trees on a grid, and I'm not a huge fan of that, and I need to figure out how to turn off the grid for this friggin' plugin, at least for these objects. Oop, Lemony Fresh beat me to it when it comes to Mental's question. Asking, does anyone know how I can see abstract properties inside Unity? Custom property drawers are pretty much the only way to do it. I know also there's a way to do it with subclassing, I think. Subclassing in the serialize attribute, but I don't quite remember if that worked in 5 or if that was a 4.x thing. Sorry. Wish I were a little more helpful on that one. Prefab filter, I don't... Okay, so let's try this. So it says tree 8 should be in a snap config that allows me to... See, it wants it on this subgrid. That's kind of the thing that bothers me. Is it's just like, yeah, subgrid. Subgrids are great. I don't really want it on a subgrid. Oh well, I'll figure that out on my own time, because in the meantime, I can just cheat and do this. Where I say, hey look, it's another tree. Or if I wanted to get more complex, I've got an entire set of props somewhere that I honestly should be making use of, since, you know, I kind of have them. And they add a neat look to the game, even though they're mostly rocks and stones and other things. Also, apparently, it's missing its mesh? Really? Okay, I guess I'll have to hunt these two down later. Because that's unfortunate. Do I still have that in my download folder? No, and it wouldn't be in my download folder because I downloaded it via the asset store. Yeah, okay, that's nice. Here it is. Let's re-import that, because I clearly missed something here. These. Those are what I want. Let's not import the things we don't want. I tend to be very picky about things that live inside my my game and how their settings are run. If I can help it, I try and turn things to very specific settings just to make sure that everything that should be attached to it gets attached to it. I know that was really specific of me. But it gets the point across. My specificness. Either you get it or you don't. There we go. Let's add some rocks. Some pretty little rocks. I've been watching too much Bob Ross, and that's fine. Not like that's a bad thing. He's really relaxing to listen to, I gotta say. Like, just the... Okay, so here's something that I didn't think about much until now. Note how we have two completely different stones here. I don't like the fact that there's an art style difference between them. At least not in such close proximity to each other. I have a feeling I could use a rock like this, but I'd have to displace it at least in terms of distance from other rocks to make sure that it doesn't look too out of place. If I put the two like next to each other, it just looks kind of weird to have them sitting like that. Yes, their art style is very similar. Yes, their setup is, you know, coming along very nicely, but they just don't match well enough to be able to be placed like this or in any, you know, matching configuration. Now, if I do stuff like this, it's a little bit better. Obviously, this doesn't look nearly as bad, so we can get away with similar looking style rocks to the first one. Not what I meant to do. Are we really coming up on the last season of that stuff? Because that's unfortunate. I know last time I checked we were in, I think, 92. So obviously, you know, we're coming up on what should be the end of it, but man, I didn't realize we were coming up on it so quickly. Granted, you stream something back to back to back to back like we do for Bob Ross's stuff, and yeah, 9 days, you know, kind of makes sense. There's only so much material one person can jam out in a certain amount of time. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised, is what I'm saying. So you guys may also notice that I've got a treasure chest. Ooh, whose model is also missing, it seems. Let me fix that. Asset store. Let's re-import this again. The number of times I end up re-importing things is sometimes between stupid and absurd. If only because I tend to forget things or miss pieces. And before long, if I've done it incorrectly enough times, I end up with I keep re-importing it over and over and over to get it fixed. Okay, let's get the prefab out of the models folder and into the actual prefab folder. Import, there are no blend shapes to import, so I guess I don't care about these a ton. There's no rig, no animations, nothing of the sort. Okay, so you will note I have a treasure chest. Plan is at some point very soon I'm going to have to work on actually getting treasure chests working, so that means for the untrapped ones, just walking up and grabbing what you want out of it and walking away. For the more complex treasure chests, what I'm probably going to end up doing is having a trap system similar to trying to think of like other games that have done a trap system similar to this, similar to the old Wizardry games, or to some degree also similar to Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, where I guess Mastermind might be the best example I have, where you essentially have a grid of traps that could be on this chest, and you start disarming components of each of those traps. Obviously, disarming a component for a trap that doesn't exist is not good. Also, you're trying to check what kind of trap exists. So it might be right component, wrong trap. So you might get something right from sheer dumb luck if you just try them all. So I've got some ideas for what the mini game should look like when it comes to that. It's just a matter of really getting it in there and making sure that the mini game is fun and interesting as opposed to confusing, annoying. There's a kind of a lot of things it could be that might cause some tension. There we go. Let's get some more trees and other things in here. If you guys have any questions before I take off, I'm happy to answer what I can. I am a resident of the gaming industry, the video game industry, so I can answer, you know, decently good questions about the state of the industry, or getting a job, or what it's like, or all kinds of stuff. Don't want trees without. You should be at a height of 2. That's just how it is. We'll throw some trees without greenery in here, just to kind of fill out the look. If we make it thick enough, it'll become pretty quickly apparent just how much or how little of this needs to be set up so that we can make it look like a thick, full forest without completely tanking our performance. Because that's something I start to worry about when the number of objects gets really high like this. We have to start keeping in mind things like performance. You know, what's our maximum? How much can we take before we start losing frames? And also, we want to give ourselves a little leeway. So if we add in more effects later, more particles, if we have a particularly large fight with lots of monsters, we really want to make sure that we're still able to keep a steady 60 if we can. Panda with a Shotgun asks, thinking of getting into the game industry in a few years, should I major in computer science or game design or what? Computer science is the easiest way to get in. You can get yourself one of these fancy newfangled game design degrees, but they tend to be very, very specific, and that makes it somewhat difficult at times to get a job right off the bat. And the nice thing is, having a computer science degree is a great backup, so you can work in the game industry, and if you're good enough, you can just work anywhere else too. It's a nice, easy way to ensure that you will never be out of a job, which is fantastic, and that you do have the choice of working in the games industry should you want to. If you decide you don't want to at some point, you know, if you start to burn out, then it's still not a problem, and it's very easy to actually hop back and say, yeah, I actually like system admin work, or I like, you know, database management. So you can switch over fairly easily. So yeah. I hear the tip-tap of little feet. Hey, there's a Corky. Alright guys, thanks for joining me today. For those of you who have not followed, there's a little heart button below. If you hit that, it's free, and Twitch will tell you each time I come online. If you want to make sure you don't miss a thing, follow me on Twitter. I tend to announce the weird stream times on Twitter, so you can have a little warning before I go online. If you want to catch up on anything, feel like you've missed a stream, the YouTube channel linked below in the stream description has a playlist of every single stream that I've done up to this point. I don't think I've missed any yet. I say that questioningly because I may have. Oops. But, you know, you guys are pretty good. You've been keeping me on it when it comes to getting things into the archive. So, lots of ways to keep up with me. Thank you again for joining me. Hopefully, I will see a whole lot of you at some point on Saturday. I'll probably do a weekend stream at some point. I just got to figure out when and what is important. What am I going to do? What am I going to add next? I don't know. Have a